See, your success in this life is determined based on whether you will follow God or not. It has nothing to do with anything else. No gifts, no abilities, no nothing. Will you follow God or not? What we read in 2 Kings 18:3. And he did what was right in the sight of the Lord, in accordance with everything that his father David had done. And yes, this is that David. His father's Ahaz, and we know that. But what we're seeing here is that the writer of the book of Kings is pointing to the fact that Hezekiah is doing the things that David did. And we recall David was a man after God's own heart. He did what was right in the sight of the Lord, in accordance with everything that his father David had done. What we see is that Hezekiah is doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He's not blaming his situation. He's not blaming his age. He's doing what God said. Well, what did God say? What does that look like then? 2 Kings 18:4 says this. He removed the high places. He smashed the memorial stones to pieces. He cut down the Asherah. He crushed to pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made, for until those days the sons of Israel had been burning incense to it. What does he do? He starts to reform the nation. See, he did what was right in the sight of the Lord in accordance with what his father David had said, but what he does is he comes in, and so his father Ahaz was the one that had all of these things set up. Probably actually generations before that. Ahaz didn't step up and say, no, we don't need this. No, go ahead and worship those things. But Hezekiah comes on the scene, and he doesn't use that as an excuse. He smashes the things that aren't of God to pieces. The high places. This is the idea of a cultic platform. Special ritualistic things taking place on the high places. The memorial stones. This is an altar. Something that gets where sacrifices get made. The cut down of the Asherah. If you know anything about the Asherah, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but this is the grove of the sacred trees. Remember, I referenced this in terms of Christmas. The sacred tree that we put in our houses. Okay? Right? He cut those down. And what's even more interesting is that what he did with this bronze serpent. Do you remember the story? The story is that the people were in the wilderness, and in the wilderness they stopped chasing after God, and so God sent fiery serpents among them. What was to happen? How were they to be saved? Well, Moses puts together this bronze serpent and hangs it on a pole as a picture of Jesus. What they're to do is they're to look at that pole, and then they are healed from the attack of the fiery serpents. Well, what they did was literally took that pole, set it up in the place of God, and started worshiping it. See, these people are crazy, aren't they? Worshiping the thing that Moses made. And so Hezekiah has to take drastic steps. Hezekiah recognizes what is good and right and holy to follow after God. And so what does he do? He rips down. He tears out all of the things that aren't of God.